All your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the AEW Recap Show. I am your host, Coach, and we are, Forbidden Door is this weekend. I had to make sure I got my dates right. So Forbidden Door is this weekend for AEW. The question on everybody's mind is what else would be in store for AEW, for especially on Dynamite leading into Forbidden Door? Well, we will go right on out and start. We have a trios match to start with. We have the Death Riders versus Místico and Bandido. And for those of you that don't know, Brody King, Bandido. And then for the Death Riders, you had Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler in their group. So we had Bandido and Yuta kicking things off, basic lockup kind of stuff, sequence of holds and counters. And they had a pretty good exchange going on, but then Moxley tags in. They started out technical, and then all of a sudden it just turned into a straight-up brawl. Bandido got cornered, and then, of course, you got your typical tag team team up with a guy get caught in the corner, ref distraction, Death Riders getting some cheap shots. Místico then tags in to take on Claudio and gets hit with a backbreaker. King then gets tagged in, and him and Claudio go at it. It was a pretty solid back and forth match for the most part. And coming from break, Bandido got the hot tag to Místico, and he made the comeback for his team. And right as he had Claudio pinned, Moxley came in for the save. And as Brody King tagged in and took over, hit some of his offense, Marina Sharif had the ref distracted. Mox hit Bandido with his title belt to get a victory. So overall, nothing too crazy to go away from this match, but it just kind of is reestablishing the Death Riders as they're willing to go down and dirty. And I think that's kind of been something that has been lost in them the last couple of weeks. So it was very nice to see that happening for them. So it was a decent match. Nothing, like I said, nothing crazy happened, but it was just a solid match. And I think the right decision was made to let the Death Riders get this one. Well, the next match that we have is actually Marina Sharif taking on Harley Cameron. And Harley Cameron came out wearing some gear inspired by the new movie Supergirl. Not telling anybody to go see it or anything, but I just don't know the reviews for that movie. Not good. So again, not telling anybody what to do. Just be wary. So as we got started, Sharif attacked Cameron before she even got into the ring. Harley tried to fight back, but Marina easily took her down. Cameron then managed to get her into a single leg crab, but it didn't last long. Harley then hit a drop kick through the ropes, followed by a crossbody from the steel steps as we went to a commercial break. Coming back from break, we still see Marina dominating. Had some quick takedowns of Harley. Harley then started to build up a head of steam as she unloaded in the corner. She put Sharif back in the one-leg crab. Sharif then turned it in, or Shafir, sorry, not Sharif. Shafir turned it into a sleeper, and then Cameron rolled back into a pin and got the upset victory. Very, very surprising by that one, but I am totally okay with this because Harley Cameron is a great wrestler and has kind of been put on the back burner for a little bit. So it's very nice to see her back in the main, not the main event scene yet, but kind of working her way back. So Cameron gets the victory over Shafir. Well done match there. Nothing too crazy again, just technical sound wrestling. But I think what people are going to remember most is the finishing where she took that armbar and put it into a pinning combination and got the victory. So congrats to Harley Cameron. We then get to our next match, which is Will Ospreay versus ELP, otherwise known as El Phantasmo, coming over from New Japan Pro Wrestling right before the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. This match had it started out with some basic wrist locks reversals, of course, the athleticism was really good between the two. And of course, there was a lot of, I'll just say, a lot of no selling with the strikes. And as Ospreay hit the first strike with a stiff chest chop, Phantasma hit a Hurricanrana, and then Ospreay, of course, pops right back up, knocks him out of the ring. Then we get a moonsault from the top rope, and that was going into commercial break. As we return from break, you get to see Phantasma in control, but Ospreay beginning to make his comeback with some jumping kicks to the head. Phantasma countered and hit a stunner of his own. Ospreay then did what I can only describe as was trying to Hulk up, because he was, as he was getting punched by Phantasma, he just kept asking for more and more, and finally Ospreay leveled Phantasma with his forearm. They had their best shots going forward, and as Ospreay hit the Spanish Fly for a near fall, which was very, very close, Ospreay did pick up the win with the Hidden Blade to end a solid match, and then he showed El Phantasmo some respect with a fist bump before leaving the ring. And then as Ospreay was celebrating with fans at ringside, Swerve Strickland came out for his match against Daniel Garcia. Just real quick, going back to that match, I mean, this was a typical Will Ospreay match. And what I mean by that is you had a lot of high flying, you had a lot of athleticism, but the storytelling in the ring kind of non-existent. Like I said, he was trying to Hulk up, it looked like. I don't know that it just came off of way over, and maybe I'm out of line here when I say this, but it just seemed a little too much for me. Again, that's my opinion. If you have comments about that, just let me know. But I think that was a little over the top of what he did. But and no surprise did he get the win after this one. But El Phantasma put on a really good showing from New Japan. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of him. As I said, our next match, Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia. Garcia made his entrance from outside the arena, which was a different look, but I kind of liked it. He looked like he meant business and got right into Swerve's face. Went for a single leg takedown. Strickland then applied a headlock. Garcia got right back to his feet, kept talking trash, and that just made Swerve even angrier. He took Garcia down and beat him on before whipping him into the corner. And then once he was firmly in control, he started punishing Garcia by choking him against the middle rope. Garcia then pulled Swerve off the apron, trapped one of his legs in the apron so he could hit a dragon screw leg whip. He hit a couple of running kicks before Strickland leveled him with a kick to the head. As we returned from the break, Garcia avoided the Swerve stomp on the apron. He kept attacking Swerve's leg with another dragon screw, but when he went for the pile driver, Swerve countered into a Death Valley driver. These guys were just talking trash the entire time, and there was nothing nothing wrong with that. I think it's great for both characters or for these two guys specifically, because these are guys who can take a beating, but at the same time are confident enough in their abilities and try to get into the. So I really, really liked that part of it. Adds to that in-ring psychology for both of these guys. Swerve went for the house call, but his leg gave out. Garcia hit a Styles Clash, but only got a 2 count. Strickland then avoided the Dragon Tamer and lined it up and hit the house call successfully. But even then, Garcia somehow kicked out at 2. Then Strickland decided to use Ospreay's move and finished him with a hidden blade for the victory. So Swerve Strickland gets the win. And then after the match, Swerve started attacking Garcia, but it was Will Ospreay made the save and started brawling with Swerve. Prince Nana tripped Ospreay and allowed Swerve to hit the house call. Garcia then saved Ospreay from taking any more damage, but Garcia did take getting hit by the vertebreaker, and Ospreay chased Strickland away with the chair. Post-match, I think it was more about Garcia standing up for Ospreay at that point. But other than that, the post-match stuff was just kind of there. Nothing. Obviously, still building for that Forbidden Door match in the Owen Hart tournament, which is the finals between Swerve and Will Ospreay. As for the match with Swerve and Garcia, I thought a great match. I thought it was fantastic. Like I said, the in-ring psychology between both of these men was great. Both of their characters really work well together. And we then go to our next break, our next match, which is Jack Perry versus Zack Sabre Jr. Before the match, we had MJF and the Don Callis family. They had a quick backstage segment, nothing too crazy. It was more about Don Callis and MJF teaming up for a new T-shirt, to which they had Team DC MJF, which was basically a bodybuilder picture of Don Callis and MJF doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers Predator high five. Never thought I would see something like that on Don Callis, but it happens apparently. Well, we get into the ring. ZSJ took Perry down, showed off some really good grappling skills. Perry looked like he was caught off guard and had to take a moment to reset. And then even then, ZSJ took control with a few arm submissions. Perry tried to bite the rope to force a break, and then Jack tried some quick pinning combinations, but he couldn't keep Savory down for the 3 count. And then as they went out of the ring, it went to a commercial break. When we returned, we saw ZSJ working on Perry's arm. He ended up locking Perry in an armbar at ringside, but the ref forced him to make a break so that they could get the match back into the ring. Perry started making his comeback and hit sliced bread number 1 on the apron, followed by a big moonsault from the middle rope to the floor. When they finally got back in the ring, ZSJ applied a modified octopus stretch that he turned into a triangular choke, triangle choke. Sorry. Perry did manage to break it by lifting and slamming ZSJ with it for a 2 count. And then Jack Perry got the snare trap locked in, but it was countered. Perry then hit a clothesline, followed by a double underhook power bomb, but he still couldn't get the win. And then ZSJ tied Perry up in a submission that eventually forced him to tap out. That was a very, very intense match between these two guys, and I thought it was really good. I don't really know what's the plan for Jack Perry right now. It feels like he's kind of caught in limbo, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but it was interesting. I do think that his character right now is still trying to find himself, and I think him losing in this way where he had to give up is an interesting thing that you can build a story off of. As for ZSJ, another big victory for him, and he just keeps building momentum. So I really, really liked that match. It was interesting. It was very interesting. No complaints here from me. We go to our next match, which is a tag team match between the Young Bucks and TMDK. The match basically turned into mayhem as all 4 men just started fighting. No tags were made. The Bucks sent them out of the ring and hit a double dive. They had control until Tito and Nichols countered a top rope attack. Nichols hit a nice spine buster for a near fall. Nick then tagged in and started building momentum as Matt was recovering on the outside. The Bucks then hit a series of super kicks to both opponents before finishing Nichols off with a Meltzer driver, and the Young Bucks get the win. After the match, ZSJ, Nichols, and Tito attacked the Bucks, and Kenny Omega then came out to make the save with Jack Perry, whose arm was wrapped up, and that was that. I'm going to be honest, this match was way too quick for me to really get a feel for it. And, they were just spamming super kicks again, and it was just kind of like, okay. So I get it. And then the post-match antics, again, there was a lot of post-match antics in this Dynamite, and I think it might have been a little overboard. Just a little bit. Sometimes they can be effective, but sometimes they can go overboard, and I feel like this was that one where it was like, okay, really, we're doing this again? We don't really need to keep doing that. All right, we get to our next match, which is a women's match between Red Velvet and Queen Aminata. They locked up, and Aminata applied a wrist lock. She had control for a moment, but Velvet quickly began fighting back. Aminata regained control and hit a snap suplex, but got a lazy cover on it, so it was only a 1 count. And then a nice little stalemate was made after both women were dodging each other very well. As we get from break, the Queen hit a slingshot suplex that kicked out a sequence of offensive maneuvers. He then hit a running kick in the corner and a double stomp for a 2 count. Velvet used a unique move to take Aminata off the top rope. She followed up with a frog splash that still couldn't get her the pin. The Queen, however, recovered and ended up getting the win to advance to the survival of the fittest match set for next week. These two didn't really have a lot of time to work with, but they did the best that they could with that. And I'm a big Red Velvet fan to begin with, so it was good seeing her get TV time. And while I wasn't happy with the result, I do think, as a Red Velvet fan, I should say, storyline wise, yeah, I liked Queen getting the ring, Queen getting the ring, Queen getting the win. I think she needs to get some boosts morale wise, and really get her going. So I think this was a good one. This was a solid match. I think given more time, I think they would have really stole the show. But good match overall for how short the match was. We then get to our next match, which is Takeshita versus Ricochet. This was technically the main event, but there was still plenty of time after this after this match for another segment. So we'll just say this was our main event match of the evening. Takeshita put his international title on the line against Ricochet. Ricochet rushed the champ and hit a kick as soon as the bell rang. He stayed on him with a couple of moonsaults and a springboard 450, but Takeshita kicked out at 2. Ricochet was in control for the match, and as he had control, Takeshita started to begin to fight back. He missed a big move and tumbled over the top rope, allowing Ricochet to regain his position. When the champion finally started to get some traction, he hit a blue thunder bomb for a 2 count. Takeshita fired himself back up and started unloading on Ricochet. Ricochet then fired back with some kicks, but it wasn't enough to stop Takeshita. The champion recovered and began to build up some steam, hit a power bomb for a 2 count. And then Ricochet actually used the ref as a shield so that he could get control back, but Takeshita hit a huge clothesline, followed by a running knee to the face, and he hit Raging Fire to retain his title. And as Takeshita was celebrating, Mark Briscoe's music hit, and he came out with a mic and high-fived the champion on his way to the ring, which gets us to our final segment, which is Mark Briscoe just basically going on a rant about before next Saturday. He hyped up the 12-man cage match for the weekend, talked about how his team is prepared for this kind of battle because they have been to war before. As Don Callis came out to distract Briscoe, MJF attacked him from behind. Briscoe was about to take control and hit the J Driller when Kyle Fletcher showed up and took him out with a brainbuster. Takeshita came back and took out his former friend, which led to Okada showing. Everyone from the match arrived to take out a man who came out before him in the sequence. It all ended with Andrade coming out last to prevent Briscoe from taking out MJF. Andrade and MJF got into an argument, but Callis got them to work together. Briscoe then caused MJF to hit Andrade before nailing him with the J Driller, and the show ended with Team Briscoe standing tall. This was your typical Attitude Era ending to where everyone just came out and just was wailing on everybody. And usually those are pretty fun. And I did like the building the tension between Andrade and MJF. However, when it was being done most of the night, it lost its luster again. Like I said, there were 4 matches where there was post-match beatdowns or anything, or scruffs or whatever you want to call it. And when that keeps happening, it leaves a kind of a stale taste in your mouth. And I might get some heat for this, but it just wasn't. It was not executed well. I think this final segment would have been great if this was the only post stuff brush up that was happening. But again, because you had this happen pretty much all night, it lost its luster of oh hey he's here, oh hey he's here, oh hey he's here. It just became a oh, and here comes everybody, here they all come. Yep, okay, we're doing this, did that, okay, cool. It like I said, it lost its luster because this was happening so much tonight. Now, as for the show as a whole, I think it was an okay show for a go home show. I think that Swerve and Garcia stole the show with their match. I really enjoyed theirs the most. Harley getting a nice upset over Marina, that was nice. If we're talking from a in-ring perspective, I think it was a pretty solid show, but the storyline building from it was still a little clunky for me. And again, the post-match beatdowns, you can't do it every match. You have to have some space in between, or turn it into a backstage segment. I don't know, but I just felt like that overpowered the actual in-ring stuff. So it was 50-50 in my eyes. You had so much good, but then you had so much of, man, they really need to keep working on that. So this Dynamite go home show was just okay. However, I do think that Forbidden Door is going to deliver this weekend, so it should be a fun one, and everyone needs to be tuning into that. So that is going to wrap it up for me here on another edition of the AEW Recap Show. A special shout out to Big Daddy C for being my producer tonight. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content here at the We Book It podcast. We have plenty of shows talking about everything in the world of wrestling. And until next time, I am Coach, and we will see you next week on another edition of AEW Recap post Forbidden Door. So we'll see what happens after the pay-per-view. Once again, I'm Coach. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you all next week.